Okay, folks, well, we are on round two. Samantha, thanks for your help. As the old timer, I am the guy that hates technology because of this. Hopefully, if you joined us earlier and you dropped off, you got a notification to come back on. So, all system here are saying go. I can tell you that the light is red right now. And I don't know if that matters at all, Samantha.
Oh my goodness, guys, we are so sorry. Yeah, it looks fine on my phone, so I'm gonna continue. Let's just continue.
Okay, so if you guys are getting back online and you're able to just drop me a note, let me know that you're now seeing me for the second time and you are hearing me okay, that would be outstanding. So unfortunately, the only thing I can control is answer your questions properly. So Chad, welcome back. Thanks for being persistent and staying. Paul, welcome back. Samantha, welcome back. So I'm going to just give this a couple of more minutes. So every now and then we have this technical difficulty and we will get this thing rolling. And as long as this platform that we're using starts behaving, we should be good to go. So starting over, welcome to Anderson Trucking Service. This is our ATS Live Ask Us Anything event. This is in fact our 15th or 16th consecutive week that we've been doing this. And kind of starting over, really important for me to stress, the reason we are doing this is the fact that we want to have some open dialogue and we want to be answering the questions. And when I don't have questions coming in, folks, all I can tell you is that I've got a couple of talk points that I want to continue to chat about. So I'm going to go ahead and start out by probably one of the biggest things that I'm excited about. So the last couple of weeks, we've been really going through talking about, frankly, what the earnings have been and what the CPM is. So I'm actually going to have a little bit of a contest question here. Number one, I'd like to know if anybody out there, the first person who responds properly is actually going to win one of our little Yeti ATS mugs, and we'll get it mailed to you. But wanting to know if you guys know what our current CPM average is for our company drivers and what that equates to for earnings on a weekly basis. And second question is, what is the current actual earnings for our lease contractors after all of their fixed expenses? We've been kind of covering what those averages have been from our 20 percentile to our 70 percentile. And I just want to make sure that everybody's really clear that grateful to see again this Monday morning that everything that we've been tracking over the last 12 weeks, that it just continually keeps going up and going up with the spot market rates, and we're just maintaining those record earnings that we're getting to our company drivers and to our contractors based on the spot market rates that we've been getting from our customers. So, and really quick, Sam, I see we're getting a little bit behind. So, welcome back, everybody. Chad, so when are you going to do AIP in the glass house again? Well, folks, I am always going to be the guy that answers the questions first, because that's what I'm here for. I don't have an agenda other than to just be available for the questions coming through. Chad, you just won the first Yeti mug. And I'll give that to you personally next time we chat. AIPs, for anybody who's not familiar with what AIP is, that stands for annual in person. And on a yearly basis, we always have our drivers come into the corporate office or to one of our other terminals. And I'm one of the guys that gets to bore you guys face to face with talking about what's going on with driver recruitment and the state of affairs with Anderson Trucking overall. So I am being told that they are now just starting to talk about it. A lot of drivers, Chad, have been responding, saying that they really like the virtual attendance without having to take the time to come up here. But we're also getting a number of drivers that miss that face-to-face time. So I will try to get an answer, but there's no set date on that yet. But anytime that you're in the office, my friend, stop on up. I'd love to see you, face to face. So you're right, Paul. It's not fair for you to answer that. And on the lease side, so Chad, you're throwing out some numbers here, and I'm glad you corrected yourself because those numbers of the 21 to 2,500, that's probably more in the range of what our company drivers. So as of this morning, or as of Monday, we were talking about what the ranges were. But for our company flatbed drivers, their range was between $1,900 and $2,700. Those numbers are holding very strong. On the company van, the numbers have gone from $1,700 up to about $2,200. It was $2,100 last week. So the top 20 percentile are actually earning about $100 more a week right now. And then for the contractors, the range is right on, Chad, for answering. You're a little high on the low end. So in our 70 percentile, the earnings are about $2,500 on the low end, and on the 20 percentile, it's about $3,300. So those numbers are holding really strong. All right, and I love it. So bottom line is the face-to-face, and you know that I'm always going to buy you lunch when you come into town. So folks, any other questions that you've got? Again, I'm always going to cover the three basics. You've heard me use the word the three-legged stool. ATS is always going to keep its focus on number one, the earnings that our drivers are making. The fleet managers are completely, their entire deliverable is frankly, the success of their drivers on their board. So if you as the driver are not being successful, we're ultimately holding that fleet manager responsible as to the why. Now, the things we can't fix, in all honesty, you're not coming out of the house when you're supposed to be hitting the road again to go make those paychecks. Can't help that. Turning down freight, just doing unnecessary deadheading. There's a lot of choices that you make throughout the week. That is it going to help you make more money, or is it going to be taking money out of your pocket? So, but as long as you're letting your fleet manager work with you on making those right choices, the earnings are continue to just be stellar. And again, my sales group and my operations group have told me that the forecast for the remainder of 2021 and going into first and second quarter 2022 are holding really strong. Some of the comments have kind of gone down a little bit. So folks, just throw something out there so I know that you guys are hearing me and seeing me okay. But we've been getting a number of questions, and it was kind of interesting to me that one of the questions that a number of drivers last week were asking was, tell us a little bit more about the ATS lease program, how it's set up, and how you actually get into the position of owning your truck. So I think you all agree that there's not many companies out there. I don't know of any that do a 1 year, no money down, no credit check, basically walking in on a risk-free lease, and you do it for a year. And we've got an option of a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year, and a 4 year. But the majority of the new drivers coming to ATS, they're going to come into that risk-free program. And the reason we do that is it's not a very good moneymaker for the company, but what it is because of the strong retention rate that ATS has. We're counting on those drivers when they complete that first year lease, that when they get that completion bonus, because I think everybody knows you're never going to pay off a truck in a year. So that first year, the reason we pay out a completion bonus is because you really have not had the time to build up the equity in that truck. So at the end of your 1 year lease, you do have an option to do a buyout with a balloon payment. But of course, that balloon payment, based on what truck you picked, could be pretty significant. And if you get into like a 2 year lease, a 3 year lease, and if you actually would like to come and do a lease program and actually put money down, I'm going to say that the money down that's required on the low end is going to be about $4,000. And usually the one that is probably more common is going to be about an $8,000 down payment. So if you have that immediately starts building up your equity, and we're going to be putting you in a longer term lease with an ATS. So going back to the program that probably 95% of new drivers come on board with, is they come on board on that short-term 1 year lease or 2 year lease. They complete that lease, and they either get a minimum of $4,000 at the end of the 1 year or up to $8,000 on the 2 year. They turn around, and we have a program called our TAP program. I talked about this a few weeks ago, but it's purely a Freightliner option. We own the local Freightliner dealers here, and we do that for multiple reasons, but a good part of that is to make sure that any of the maintenance and work that has to be done in your truck, that we're able to give you a really reduced rate than what you would be paying out on the road. So the TAP program is for our top Anderson performers. You have to be with us for 1 year to qualify for that. So for that one, there is money down that's required. There will be a credit check, but you also have that completion bonus money that you just pocketed from that lease you just completed, and that allows you to completely spec out a truck you're looking for. APUs are options. Pretty much everything is an option, because this is an actual lease that your intention is to fully own that truck with a minimal balloon payment at the end of it. So again, coming in to do the short-term lease with us, get to know us, we get to know you, and then after you're done and you believe, hey, this is the company I want to be staying with, you can either do the TAP program for a Freightliner truck or our CES, which is our competitive equipment leasing arm. Basically, they would be the ones that can arrange if you're looking to get into like a Peterbilt or getting into a Volvo. And again, these are all going to then be long-term leases, but we're trying to get the nerves away from everybody on getting nervous about putting money into something that they're not really sure is going to work for them. And that 1-year lease and that 2-year lease is just a great courtship for you to get to know us, for us to get to know you before you make that bigger financial decision. I got a question that just came up. Am I able to take my current company truck, and basically you're saying it's a great truck, and move it over to a lease? So I got to tell you, Chad, we normally don't do that. I will tell you, however, everything is possible. So that's the beauty of being a family-held business. We've got our basic processes and procedures that we follow. But if the truck meets specifications, a lot of it would be what's the year of the truck, how many miles are on that truck, and can we successfully put you into a long-term lease where we know that truck is going to continue to perform for you after you take on the ownership of it through the lease versus running it as a company truck. So it might be something that you could ask your fleet manager about. I'm going to just throw this out there, and Samantha, if you could do me a favor and throw my email up for everybody. But Chad, drop me a note and I'll actually reach out to the fleet manager and operations and find out if there's any options there. However, if you're liking that truck, there's a very, very good chance that we have a similar truck that's in the lease inventory versus the company truck inventory. So looking at it, 260,000 miles of 2019, that does fit in the bill. Remember that we are trying to make sure that any trucks that we're putting into the system, especially for long term, we're really paying attention to when that truck hits that 500,000 miles and that the factory warranty no longer applies. We do that to try to protect our drivers. And so the reality is there might be some trucks. There's all these companies that are out there right now that are offering these 3-4 year lease where they're saying you got to pay $1 for when the truck is due for the balloon payment. But let me tell you what they're doing is they're leasing you probably a 4 or a 5-year-old truck. The truck probably has about 500,000 miles on it the day you take possession of that truck on the first day of your lease. And you're then going into a truck that's going to get into high maintenance expenses. And it's just not the culture of what ATS wants to do. We've got a lot of restrictions on exactly the age of the truck, the condition of the truck. And one thing that I just found out is we plate 100% of our trucks in Minnesota because Minnesota is probably the most strict when it comes to DOT truck inspections. And every inspection is actually tied to the technician that did the inspection. And if that truck gets pulled over and has a service issue that should have been found, it actually hits that technician with a negative point. And so we'd rather know that the trucks are getting properly inspected and that we know that you're going out to do the job in a piece of equipment that's going to continue to maintain and do the job it's supposed to do instead of roadside breakdowns and constantly going into the shop for repairs. So, wow, they actually do that dollar thing. Wow. Yep, they do. And the funny thing is I had actually about 3 drivers that came through orientation in the last few days that were asking me about it. And they were thinking they could go out and select one of our brand new 2019s, 20s, 21s, and only have to pay $1 at the end of the lease. And at the end of the day, it doesn't work that way. The only companies that are offering those are folks that are putting very old inventory out there and making some money on that for trucks that they won't be able to sell down the road anyway. So, Melinda, you said Chris Carney here, does trucks have double bunks? So we absolutely do have trucks. The majority of we got a couple of Freightliners. We typically are holding those for teams. We do sometimes have, it depends upon if you're coming on board. So Chris, are you looking at coming in on a company side, or are you looking at coming on the lease side? And is it more for passenger, or are you actually looking to do some teamwork with us? So that's probably a really big question. But the majority of our fleet for our solo drivers are not going to be the double bunks, but we absolutely do have them in our inventory. And if there's a reason that a double bunk is important, that makes sense to both of us, we can work it out to make sure that that happens for you. So, but if you've got additional questions on that, Chris, make sure you let me know, okay? And again, everybody, in case you're joining this later and you've got a question or you'd like to engage, two ways for you to get a hold of us. Number one is that my email address, which is thejoe@atsinc.com, but Drive for ATS is all over this page. If you end up going to Drive for ATS, there are multiple locations to where you can start a conversation. You can post a message on our Drive for ATS Facebook page, and that's being monitored 24/7 as well. So Chris, Lise and my wife wants to travel with me. So knowing that, sometimes the double bunk is just something that you'd like to have. They're typically going to be, like I said, in the Volvos or in a Peterbilt, or excuse me, in a Freightliner. So if you've got a date that's coming up that you know that you're coming on board, all we can do, especially on the lease, our trucks are pretty much full. And so it's based on the inventory that we have for the drivers coming to select. We don't have drivers leaving because they don't find a truck that's going to work for them. But if you're dead set on a specific year, make, model, that and a color that we may not have, when we go through the numbers on what kind of money you can make and that this is a short-term lease, we've not had a driver say a blue truck is more important to me than making $2,000 to $3,000 a week after all my fixed expenses. So, but yeah, Chris, let your recruiter know. They can get with me, and I can find out if there's any options there. So, Chad, you're saying I have a double bunk, but my lady is on the truck. So, so bottom line is, yeah, they are out there. I don't have a clue what percentage there is, but we are very able to accommodate if there's a need that you have. So, and Robbie, thanks for jumping in. So folks, Robbie's one of my senior recruiters, and sometimes I can't keep up with the messages. And so I've got Samantha to my right. I'm going to introduce you real quick, Sam. Yes. So Sam is my technical guru to make sure nothing falls apart on us. And she's the one who put the trivia question, and she's going to be the one to make sure that the winner of the Yeti mugs, Chad, gets that sent to them, because you won it not only on, that's it, not only on the CPM for our company drivers, but for sure on the earnings for the both company and the lease drivers. So good job on that. So Chris, I'm going to assume that your question has been answered. So going back to, the three-legged stool, we're talking about, we always keep our eye on the money. We know that everybody who comes to work and is working for ATS, that the reality is that making money, the earnings for your family is one of the most important things that you're here to do. But we want to also make sure that when you put in a home time request, we're getting you through the house the day that you ask. And the third part of the stool is respect. And I love it when we have our active drivers on board, because at the end of the day, without that respect and without you guys joining in to have a discussion with us, you guys are always there to back me up for all of our current ATS drivers, and hearing feedback from you guys out there doing the job of, is the pay really as good as they say it is? Are they really getting you home when you're asking to get home? And are they communicating with you with respect? You won't be able to experience the ATS culture until you're here. And once you're here and you see our open door policy to where you sign in with safety, you see my little badge I got, you basically get a badge just like that, and you can basically go wherever you want to in the entire building. You want to walk up to our chairman's office and knock on his door, go to any of the Andersons, go to your operations manager, your vice president of safety, whoever you might be going to. Sam, could you turn this phone off? Because somebody thinks that they're going to just keep calling me during this. So at the end of the day, the pay, home time, and the respect is something we're never going to take our eyes off of. All right, so I'm glad you're happy, Chad. Samantha's going to be the one who gets in the mail, and I think we got 3 different colors, right?
Yep. We have the teal, the orange, and the charcoal.
Cool. So the one you just saw was what we consider orange. Yep. That to me is not orange. So,
What?
so folks, I am going to keep kind of looking through questions right now. I am not seeing anything that's new. And so, folks, I typically commit about 30 minutes to this if we got a lot of active questions that are coming up. A little quiet tonight. I know the 4th of July is coming up, and people are going to be trying to, take some time. Jerry, the pay is better. Love ATS, 8 years and counting. All I can say is amen. And obviously, I know you very well, Jerry. Thanks for joining our live session today. Folks, I can't stress enough. If you got some questions, even if you're an active driver of ours, if you've got a question that you think me responding in detail is going to help a driver who's considering ATS, throw it out there. You might already have the answer, but this whole setup is to allow us to be able to just have a candid, open discussion with everybody that's joining the session can hear it from not only me, but our participation from the group that's joining us. So I'm going to give this a couple of more minutes, but there's a couple other talking points. So talking about the lease, I'm hoping that I explained how you can go from a brand new lease driver to a truck owner with ATS and why our program is set up the way it is. One other thing I want to talk about is a number of our active drivers have told me how good Anderson Trucking is at making sure that when they're coming on board and they're new to us, and so they know that they're taking their truck and their trailer through the house, that we don't have terminals all set up throughout the United States, that basically you're living in that truck, and when you go take your home time, you're taking that truck home with you, of helping you find out where you can park that truck near your home, what those options are. Probably the bigger thing is when you're out there doing the job and you're going to a shipper or you're going to a consignee and you're new to that area, you don't know if you can go in the facility and park your truck overnight and stay there. You don't know what facilities are near. You don't know what's safe. We have got a lot of technology built in to where we're letting you know that information in advance, so you're not panicking if you're getting there after hours and you're not sure what you're walking into. We want to remove that stress, and we talk a lot about what are we doing to help you solve your problems. Probably one of the biggest things we try to do is remove those distractions. So you're going to hear us talking a lot about safety. Well, for you to be a good safety conscious driver of ATS, we don't want your head in places where it shouldn't be. So if we can anticipate a problem, we're going to try to help solve that problem well in advance of that coming to you, so that allows you to stay focused on getting that load picked up on time, getting that load delivered on time, and having a very safe, stress-free journey from point A to point B, and getting you through the house when you're deciding that home time is important to you. So, Sam, it doesn't look like I'm missing much else here. So, folks, this is a great time. I typically always close this way of saying, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this at 10 o'clock tonight, do know that we're monitoring the comments nonstop. And so if there's any comments that come in after the fact, if there's any questions that you have, do know that we will be responding to those real time. And what I really like is when you guys put a couple of questions out there that I can kind of start the next session out with. So just a reminder, whether we're live or not, 100% of the questions that you send to us, we're going to respond to. So Christina, a lot of red tag step deck trailers in Houston, Texas. My husband was taking off a load for smaller paying load because not being able to get a step deck. Hard to find step decks at that location. Can this issue be looked into? So I got to be honest with you. So Christina, I don't know of any issues that are down there, and I'm guessing you're talking about our Channelview, Texas facility. And we get a lot of equipment back that goes down into Mexico. So it's kind of a transition spot for the stuff that goes down to Laredo. And so we do know that there's been an increase in damage to a number of our trailers. So trust me, that hurts us too, because every load that's red tagged is a trailer that's not out connected to one of your trucks and out making you money. So at the end of the day, I will look into that. But I'd be curious if you've had any discussions with your fleet manager. And I'm guessing they're going to get you into an area where you're going to be getting hooked to those single drops. But listen, there are times when we have bottlenecks. Because I used to be responsible for our Jacksonville, Florida terminal, I can directly tell you that one of the biggest headaches that we get with these trailers that we interchange with other trucking companies, for example, to go to Mexico, to go onto a barge to go over to Puerto Rico is how they treat those trailers. And when we get them back, all we can do is red tag them until we can get those repairs completed. So I know the staffing is up to speed down there, so it's not a staffing issue. It's really just probably a matter of the severity of the damage. And part of it sometimes comes down to who's going to end up paying for it. Kermit, my friend, you and I know each other very well. So I actually had Kermit do one of these live sessions with me a number of weeks ago, and it was a real honor for me. So Kermit, 37 years is a very big number. And I'm going to tell anybody before Kermit does finally decide to retire, I'm not going to tell anybody your age, Kermit, but this guy can run circles around you, and there's not a guy that I respect more. So Kermit, thanks for the time that you put with us. Before you're done, I told you that you and I need to go grab dinner for that final farewell, but thank you very much for letting me know that I knew you were talking about making it happen this year, and I think you've earned it. Don, your name looks really familiar. I think that you were on one of our earlier sessions, but it says, hey, what is orientation like for flatbed drivers? So that's a really good question. So our orientation for contractors, for lease drivers, is up here in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And our orientation for our company drivers is in a brand new facility down in Porter, Indiana. And so about 55% of the drivers that join our flatbed division are drivers that have definitely got the tractor trailer experience, but they've never pulled open deck trailers. So we do the training for that during orientation. So typically Mondays and Tuesdays is all the paperwork. Your first day you're going and doing your DOT drug and alcohol screening. You're going out and taking your road test. And give you an example. If you want to drive a manual truck, you've got to be road tested in a manual truck. If an automatic truck is what you're going to be is a restriction, then you have to be tested in an automatic. So you're going to go and take a road test based on what the type of truck is that you're going to be seated in. Then you've got all your DOT paperwork that you've got to fill out, your application for certification, and then you start getting into the classroom time, and that typically consumes Monday and Tuesday. Starting on Wednesday, we actually have indoor training bays where you actually go through classroom training with our safety department, and they go through the fundamentals of chaining, strapping, tarping, the different types of loads that you're going to be securing. There's a big difference between securing a coil or a big piece of granite or a big John Deere tractor or a Caterpillar combine, the wind turbines that we haul. And so they're going to take you through classroom time, and then you've also got another day where it's hands-on, and they actually do testing to make sure that everything that they taught you is understood. But what's really cool is for anybody new to flatbedding, we've got what's called the picture program. And so for your first, basically, I think it's 90 days, every single load that you get dispatched on, when you've completed securing, you take a picture and send it into the safety department, and it's monitored 24/7. And they walk through and make sure that everything that you've done and how you've done it is correct, so there's no surprises. And another big thing, I'm going to tell you that my drivers that are listening right now that are flatbedders, we don't have a better team of flatbed drivers that help each other out. You've got questions, we've got a closed group for Anderson Trucking drivers where drivers are helping drivers out with situations all the time. And so the orientation starts on a Monday. You're done with the securement training at the end of the day Thursday, and our goal is to try to make sure that you're seated and dispatched out Friday, so you're out making money right away instead of being stuck over the weekend. So Don, I hope I answered your question. And again, your name looks really familiar, maybe not, but if you'd like any additional details, anything that you think I went over too quickly, let me know. But I will tell you that we don't put drivers on Greyhounds. We will put drivers on Greyhounds that make it to our orientation, and we find out that they didn't completely be honest with us, and we get a work verifications that they just abandoned their truck before coming to our class. I'll put those drivers on a Greyhound bus all day long. But we bring all of our drivers up either through a flight or through a rental car. We encourage you to bring your spouse or if you've got a significant other that you would like to join. We want the family to be involved with the onboarding process. and we're also the company that doesn't stack up drivers in a hotel room. You're going to get your own. You're going to get your own room. You're going to have that room by yourself. If you've got a companion that's with you, they obviously stay in the room with you. And then we will feed you and your companion throughout the entire orientation process. And so COVID put a little bit of a damper on how many. It depends upon how big our class is, but sometimes we have to restrict how many people can actually join orientation. But if we've got the seats available where we can continue to practice the social distancing, we'll allow that companion to join. We've had a couple of drivers that had time with their kids. They were planning on getting a passenger policy pass with us, and we allow passengers to go out on day number 1. And so we try to be extremely accommodating and try to make that experience second to none. So again, Don, I hope I answered your question okay there. Tony, see out there saying hi to Jerry. Chad. Yeah, so 100%. The new facility down in Porter. So any of you guys that came earlier and you had to go and do the orientation in our Gary, Indiana facility, there's nobody happier than this guy who's been here for 31 years than to see that Gary facility go away and to have this brand new facility that when you see it, if you've seen our corporate office facility, we basically mirrored what we did here in St. Cloud when we built the new shop and orientation facility. So it is 100% all indoors now, which has been a really good experience. And I've been hearing nothing but positive about what we got going on in Porter. So let's see here. Those with pictures, make sure you take good, clear pictures. So Chad again, and what I love is even when this is over, the banter and the dialogue can continue going on. But again, I just want to say thanks to our active drivers that joined us tonight. That kind of gives additional information and insight on exactly how these questions are being answered, and for you to give them a little bit more insight out there doing the job. So yeah, you're exactly right. No more lakes to walk through. Nothing was good about that whatsoever. So folks, I'm not sure if there's any other questions. I'm really glad about the orientation question. It gives me a little bit of a chance to let you know about the onboarding. I will tell you that my personal philosophy, anybody who works for me or with me will say that I'm a believer that we've only got one chance to do it right with our new drivers. And frankly, even with our rehires, we've been having a lot of drivers coming back to ATS the last couple of months, left for various reasons. But it's really important for us to have a very good first impression, no surprises from what recruiting told you, not conflicting information between recruiting and operations when you're getting here, that the programs are exactly what we told you they were going to be. So at the end of the day, we have one chance to do it right. And when our drivers are returning, same thing. We've got to make sure we pick it up where we left it off. And if we were part of the reason why they left, we spent a lot of extra time with that driver to make sure that we've corrected and remedied to make sure we don't repeat ourselves again. So Jerry, 100%. I think you're one of the guys that know I'm here for you guys, and I'm going to stay committed to doing these live sessions. One thing I do want to tell everybody, next week we're going to have a little bit of fun. So I've been doing these inside of the room here, and it's been going really good. All of my recruiters are joining me next week, Wednesday, after the 4th of July. We're going to have kind of a get-together. So for any of our active drivers, if you're around here at 7 o'clock next week, make sure you come over to the driver's lounge, because we're going to be doing our ATS Live outside, but we're also going to have a grill. We're going to be making burgers and serving you guys some dinner for anybody who wants to come in and join and have the discussion with us. So at the end of the day, just know that we're going to try to have a little bit of fun. And we're doing this to, number one, feed you and have a little bit of a social time with you guys, but also it allows you guys to help join us in this discussion. So if we're having questions coming up, drivers that are watching this can actually ask you a direct question. And I've been trying to bring guests on a pretty regular basis, and getting guests to join me at 7 o'clock at night, folks, not quite so easy. However, we're going to make it happen. So, Tony, I bought one of your trucks from St. Cloud truck sales last year, and I'm hoping, Tony, it's been a good experience. I love to hear your guys' stories, and sometimes the road may start rocky, but I'm hoping that the overall experience from the very first truck you leased to where you are today, you want to share a little bit more about what that experience was like for you on this. That would be outstanding. Yep, bottom line. So, Chad, I remember when you left and when you came back. I'm one of the biggest guys that loves seeing the familiar faces of I see that termination note come through. Always got to pay attention to the why, but I'm really glad that you recovered and just glad that you're back with us. So, and Chad, 100%. Tell your fleet manager. I'm going to follow up with you, my friend, because absolutely would love to have you on as a guest. Any of you that would like to join me during these, remember our goal is to be answering questions. We call it Ask Us Anything. There's not I almost like the challenging questions. I love those questions that somebody asks that most trucking companies try to stay away from. We know that we're not for everybody, and we'd rather just make it very clear on who we're a good fit for, and making sure that you're going to be a good fit for us. So, folks, all you guys that joined, I appreciate you taking the time. I haven't seen any recent questions coming up here. So again, next week, Wednesday, we're staying committed to 7 o'clock every Wednesday through the month of July. And we've got plans for every one of those weeks. But, share this with some of the folks that you might know out there. Share with family members. We love it when spouses join these as well. They might have questions. But the more people that we can have be aware that we do these, and the more people have some questions that they can ask, way better for this discussion to just keep going, because I think you guys can tell by the way I've been answering the questions, I really want to get into the detail level with this. So, all right, everybody, it is 7:42. I want to wish everybody a very happy 4th of July. Be safe, make good choices, and we will see everybody next week, Wednesday, with my entire team. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.